My name is Emma, and for 3 years, I silently paid every bill that kept my parents afloat, their mortgage, medical expenses, prescriptions, while they praised my sister Sarah for being their generous provider. $60,000 drained from my account, leaving me in thrift store clothes and a decade-old car, as they planned to leave their entire inheritance to the daughter who hadn't spent a dime on them. But the night they announced at dinner that I wouldn't see a penny in their will, something inside me finally snapped. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, you'll understand why I stood up from that table, looked my father in the eye, and said the words that would shatter their golden illusion forever. Then ask her to pay for your care. What happened next exposed a web of lies so deep, even I wasn't prepared for the truth. If you are watching this video right now, I would love to know where you are from. Drop it in the comments section below. Hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories about family relationships that take unexpected turns. The memory hits me every time I drive to my parents' house. That dinner when I was 12, sitting at our scratched oak table while my father's voice boomed across the room. "Why can't you be more like your sister?" The words had carved themselves into my bones, a permanent ache that flared up whenever I saw their driveway. Sarah had just won another science fair. First place, naturally. The trophy gleamed on the mantel next to her debate championship medal, her honor roll certificates, her perfect attendance awards. My participation ribbon from the art show, the one where I'd spent 3 weeks painting a landscape that made my teacher cry, was nowhere to be seen. Mom had probably thrown it away with the weekly garbage. 23 years old now, and nothing had changed. I pulled into their driveway on a gray Thursday afternoon, the autumn leaves crunching under my tires like broken promises. 3 weeks had passed since my last visit. 3 weeks of unanswered texts from me, asking how Dad's blood pressure was, if Mom's arthritis medication was working. They'd responded once, a photo of Sarah at some corporate gala, champagne flute raised, designer dress catching the light. "Your sister just got promoted to senior vice president," the caption read. No response to my questions about their health. The front door was unlocked, as always. The smell of pot roast drifted from the kitchen, Sarah's favorite, though she hadn't been home for Sunday dinner in 4 months. I knew because I'd been here every other week, bringing groceries, fixing the leaky faucet, replacing the batteries in Dad's glucose monitor. "Oh, you're here," Mom said without looking up from her magazine. "House beautiful." Sarah had gotten her a subscription last Christmas. I'd gotten her a cashmere scarf she'd never worn. "Hi, Mom. How's your hip?" "Fine." She flipped a page. "Your sister called this morning. She's thinking about buying a second property. An investment home. Smart girl." I set my purse on the counter, noticing the pile of envelopes stacked near the coffee maker. Medical bills from the quick glimpse I caught. Fairview Medical Center. Riverside Cardiology. The amounts visible through the windows made my stomach clench. $3, $847, $2,156, $4,500. All marked "past due" in angry red letters. "Those bills need attention," I said carefully. Mom waved her hand dismissively. "Your sister handles all that. She set up some kind of automatic payment system. We don't even have to think about it." The automatic payment system.
Right.
The one I'd set up through my own bank account, hemorrhaging $2,000 a month to keep their medical expenses covered. The one they thought came from Sarah because I'd never corrected their assumption. Because what was the point? They'd probably accuse me of lying. Dad emerged from his study, newspaper in hand. "Didn't expect to see you today. I told you yesterday I was coming. Must have forgotten." He sat in his recliner with a grunt. "Sarah's been so busy lately. Vice President responsibilities. Did your mother tell you? Youngest VP in company history. She mentioned it. What are you doing these days?" "Still at that, what was it?" "Marketing thing." "Graphic design, Dad. I'm a senior designer now. We just landed the Morrison Industries account." "Graphic design," he interrupted with a chuckle. "Drawing pictures on computers. Well, someone has to do it, I suppose. Not everyone can be a VP like Sarah." The words stung like they always did, sharp and precise, finding the soft spots between my ribs. I opened my mouth to tell him about the award I'd won last month, about the raise that came with it, about how my boss had called my work revolutionary in front of the entire team. But his eyes had already drifted back to his newspaper. Dinner was the usual performance. They talked about Sarah's achievements, past, present, and projected future. The time she'd save her company $2 million with some innovation. The CEO who'd personally complimented her presentation. The business trips to London and Tokyo. I pushed pot roast around my plate and made appropriate sounds of interest while mentally calculating how much I'd need to transfer this month to cover their mortgage payment. You know, Dad said, sawing at his meat with unnecessary force, we've been thinking about the future lately. Estate planning and such. My fork paused halfway to my mouth. Smart to plan ahead. I managed. We met with Harold. You remember Harold, our lawyer, last week. Got everything sorted out. He took a long drink of water, then looked directly at me for the first time all evening. We're leaving everything to Sarah. The words hung in the air like a blade. Everything. My voice came out smaller than intended. The house, the savings, your grandmother's jewelry, all of it. She's earned it. Mom nodded along, cutting her meat into precise, tiny squares. She's been so good to us over the years. Taking care of us. It's only right. Taking care of them. The phrase echoed in my skull. Taking care of them while living 5 hours away. Taking care of them while never visiting. Taking care of them while I wrote check after check, draining my savings, skipping vacations, wearing the same winter coat for 4 years because every spare dollar went to their care. That's your decision to make, I said, setting down my fork. My appetite had evaporated. Don't look so glum, Dad said, already dismissing my reaction. It's not like you need it. Sarah has responsibilities. A lifestyle to maintain. You're simple. You don't need much. Simple. Like I was a houseplant that could survive on minimal water and indirect sunlight. Besides, Mom added, we might not even have much to leave. These medical bills, you know. Thank God for Sarah's help, or we'd be in real trouble. I excused myself to the bathroom and sat on the closed toilet lid, head in my hands. My phone showed the automatic transfer scheduled for tomorrow, $2,000 to Parents' Medical Fund. 3 years I'd been doing this. $36,000, not counting the emergency payments for Dad's heart procedure last year or Mom's physical therapy after her fall. When I returned to the table, they were discussing Sarah's upcoming promotion possibilities. She'll probably make partner within 5 years, Dad was saying. Can you imagine? Our daughter, a partner at Morrison, Fletcher and Associates. Actually, I should go, I said, gathering my purse. Early morning tomorrow. Oh, already? Well, drive safe. Mom didn't get up from her chair. Tell Sarah we said hello if you talk to her. You mean when she visits? Oh, she's far too busy to visit. You know how demanding her job is. We're lucky she even calls. I paused at the door. What if Sarah couldn't help anymore? With the bills, I mean. What would you do? Dad laughed. Actually laughed. That's ridiculous. Sarah would never abandon us. She's not that kind of person. Not like, he stopped himself, but I heard the unfinished sentence anyway. Not like you. The drive home was a blur of streetlights and suppressed tears. My phone rang through the car speakers. Dad, probably calling to remind me about something I'd forgotten to do while I was there. I let it go to voicemail. His message was brief and cutting. Forgot to mention earlier. Don't expect anything in the will. Want to be clear about that. It's all going to your sister. She deserves it. I pulled into my apartment complex and sat in the dark car. Engine off, hands gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. 3 years of secret sacrifice.
Tire-6 $12.
Countless hours spent managing their medications, driving them to appointments, fixing things around their house. And for what? To be told I was simple, less than undeserving. We'll see about that, I whispered to the darkness. We'll see. The memory ambushed me at work the next morning. Mom's first heart episode, 3 years ago. I'd been in a client meeting when the call came through. Your mother's in the hospital, the nurse had said. She's asking for family. Sarah had been in Singapore. Or was it Sydney? Some place starting with S where important business happened. Dad had been useless, pacing the waiting room like a caged animal, muttering about insurance deductibles. I'd held Mom's hand through the night, watching monitors beep, adjusting her blanket when she shivered, lying to nurses that yes, of course, her other daughter was on her way. The bill had arrived 2 weeks later, $8,743 after insurance. Dad had stared at it like it was written in ancient Greek. "We can't afford this," he'd said, voice hollow. "The mortgage, the car payments, my medications. I'll figure it out," I told him, already knowing what that meant. My vacation fund, gone. The down payment I'd been saving for a condo, redirected. The next morning, I'd set up the automatic transfers, hiding them under innocuous labels in my bank statements. Utilities. Subscription services. Monthly supplies. Anything to avoid questions from friends who might glimpse my phone screen. Earth to Emma. My coworker, Janet, waved a hand in front of my face. Design meeting in 5. Sorry, just thinking through the Morrison pitch. Must be nice to have your head in the clouds. Some of us have real bills to pay. She laughed, not meanly, just the casual assumption everyone made. Emma, the single girl with no kids, must have so much disposable income. Emma, always wearing the same blazer, driving the same 10-year-old Honda, must be saving for something big. If only they knew that my something big was keeping my parents afloat while they praised the daughter who hadn't seen them since Easter. The meeting dragged. I presented 3 concepts for Morrison Industries' rebrand, my mind calculating. Dad's blood pressure medication, $340 per month. Mom's arthritis treatment, $280 per month. Their mortgage payment, $1,400 per month. My salary covered it, barely if I was careful.
No coffee shops. No Netflix.
No anything that wasn't absolutely essential. That evening, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop, transferring another $2,000. The remaining balance in my checking account made me nauseous. $347.82 to last until next Friday. I opened my journal, the one place I could be honest, and wrote, October 15th transferred another $2,000 today. That makes $38,000 total. Mom called Sarah a blessing at dinner last night. Dad said I was simple. I wanted to scream. I wanted to show them every bank statement, every receipt, every sacrifice. But what's the point? They'd probably say I doctored them, or that I'm lying for attention, or that Sarah must have reimbursed me somehow. There's no winning when you're the daughter who doesn't shine. My phone buzzed. Sarah.
Hey, sis.
Parents said you stopped by yesterday. Thanks for checking on them. Someone has to. I typed, then deleted. Instead. How's Singapore? Singapore was months ago. I'm in Dallas now. Big presentation tomorrow. Anyway, Mom mentioned they're having some money troubles? Medical bills or something. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. This was my chance. Tell her. Make her confront the truth. I'm handling it, I wrote. You?
How?
I've been covering their bills. All of them. For 3 years. The typing indicator pulsed for a long moment. Oh, Emma. That's sweet of you to help out a little. I'm sure they appreciate the gesture. I've been managing the major expenses, of course. But every little bit helps. Sarah, I'm sending them $2,000 a month. I paid for Dad's heart procedure. Mom's physical therapy. Their mortgage when they fell behind last winter. Another long pause. Look, if it makes you feel important to think you're supporting them, fine. But we both know who really takes care of them. They tell me everything. How I'm the one they rely on. The one they trust. If you're sending money, that's nice, but don't exaggerate your role. I have receipts. Bank statements. I can prove. Emma, I don't have time for this. Some of us have real careers. Real responsibilities. If you want to play house with Mom and Dad's finances, go ahead. But don't pretend you're some kind of hero. They know who really matters to them. She went offline before I could respond. 2 days later, another family dinner. This time, Sarah had sent a gift, a smart TV they didn't know how to use. Isn't she thoughtful? Mom gushed, running her hand over the box. She knows how much your father loves his shows. And she insisted on the best model. Must have cost a fortune. I happen to know it cost $400 on sale. I knew because I'd seen the credit card statement Sarah had accidentally forwarded to me, showing the charge alongside a $3,000 purchase at Nordstrom and a $500 dinner at some steakhouse. Meanwhile, the medical bills I'd paid that same week totaled $1,847. Sarah takes such good care of us, Dad said, attempting to decipher the installation instructions. We're so fortunate to have a daughter who's successful enough to help out. About that, I said, my voice steadier than expected. I've been helping too, with the bills. They both looked at me with identical expressions of confused amusement. Dad set down the instructions. Emma, you can barely afford your apartment. We've seen your car, your clothes. No offense, sweetheart, but you're not exactly in a position to help anyone financially. I drive an old car and wear old clothes because I send you money every month. Mom laughed. Actually laughed. Oh, honey, this is embarrassing. Are you really trying to compete with your sister? It's not a competition. Sarah helps us because she can. You do what you can. And that's fine. Not everyone can be successful. I have proof. Bank statements showing. Don't. Dad's voice turned sharp. Don't embarrass yourself further. We know who pays our bills. Sarah set up the whole system. She handles everything through her accountant. Very sophisticated. You probably wouldn't understand it. I wanted to scream. To throw my phone at them, showing the transfers, the receipts, the evidence. But their faces, so certain, so dismissive, told me it wouldn't matter. In their story, Sarah was the hero. I was the afterthought. No amount of evidence would rewrite that narrative. That night, unable to sleep, I called the clinic where Mom received treatment. Fairview Medical Center, billing department. Hi, I'm calling about the account for Margaret Thompson. I've been making payments, and I wanted to confirm they're being properly credited. Let me check. Are you the guarantor on the account? I'm her daughter. I've been paying. I show Emma Thompson as the payment source for the past 36 months. Regular payments, always on time. In fact, there's a note here from our financial counselor thanking you for your consistency. Many family members promise to help but don't follow through. You've been remarkably reliable. Could you send me a written statement saying that? For my records? Of course. Email? I gave it to her, my hands shaking. Finally, validation. Proof that I wasn't imagining my sacrifice. The statement arrived within an hour. Clear, official, undeniable. Emma Thompson, payment source for Margaret Thompson's medical expenses. 36 consecutive months. Total paid, $42,364. I stared at the number. $42,000. More than a year's worth of car payments. A down payment on a house. A chance at a different life. A week later, at yet another dinner, the bomb dropped. We finalized our will today, Dad announced over dessert, a cake I'd brought that they assumed Sarah had sent. Oh, I managed through a mouthful of chocolate. Everything goes to Sarah. The house, the savings, your grandmother's jewelry, the car, all of it. He said it so casually like he was discussing the weather. She's earned it. Years of taking care of us. It's only fair. What about? I started then stopped. What was the point? You'll be fine, Mom added, patting my hand condescendingly. You're used to not having much. Sarah has a lifestyle to maintain. Responsibilities. You're simple. Like your father said. Simple needs, simple life. Simple. There was that word again. If only you were more like your sister, Mom continued, not noticing how white my knuckles had gone around my fork. She's just so generous. So successful. We're blessed to have at least one daughter we can be proud of. At least one. The words echoed as I drove home. At least one daughter worth being proud of. At least one daughter worth remembering in the will. At least one daughter worth loving. I pulled into my parking spot and sat in the dark, my phone illuminating with another notification from my bank. Automatic transfer scheduled. $2,000 to monthly supplies. I canceled it. Then I sat back and waited for the inevitable explosion. 3 weeks. That's how long it took for them to notice. I'd spent those 3 weeks in a strange state of suspension, going through the motions at work while waiting for my phone to ring. Every day, I checked my bank account, seeing the $2,000 that hadn't been transferred, the number growing with each paycheck. For the first time in 3 years, I bought myself a new pair of shoes. Nothing fancy, just comfortable flats that didn't have worn-through soles. The guilt lasted about an hour before transforming into something else: defiance. The call came on a Tuesday evening while I was heating up ramen, the good kind, not the 30-cent packets I'd been living on. "Emma?" Mom's voice was pitched higher than usual. "We have a situation." "What's wrong?" "The mortgage company called. They say we're behind." "But that's impossible. Sarah handles all that." "Have you asked Sarah?" "She's in meetings all day. Important client presentation. You know how busy she is." Of course she was. "I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding," I said, stirring my noodles. Could you look into it? You're good with computers." The irony was so thick I could have spread it on toast. "I'll see what I can do." What I did was nothing. I finished my dinner, watched a movie on my laptop, and went to bed at a reasonable hour for once. My phone rang 6 more times. I let it go to voicemail. The next family dinner was scheduled for Sunday. I'd spent Saturday rehearsing in my mirror, practicing different ways to say what needed to be said. Calm and logical, emotional and hurt, cold and factual. None of them felt right, but I went anyway, armed with a folder of bank statements I'd printed at work. The atmosphere was different when I arrived. Tense. Dad barely looked up from his newspaper, and Mom's smile was strained. "Sarah's coming," she announced, as if this was some kind of triumph. "She's driving down specially." "How nice," I said, settling into my usual chair. Sarah arrived an hour late, breezing in with their kisses and excuses about traffic. She looked polished as always: fresh manicure, designer bag, shoes that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. The golden child in all her glory. "So," she said, settling into her chair, "the good one. The one without the wobble. Mom mentioned something about a mortgage mix-up?" 3 weeks late, Dad said gruffly. "The bank called twice." "Must be their error," Sarah said, examining her nails. "I'll have my assistant look into it tomorrow." "Your assistant handles our mortgage?" I asked innocently. "Well, not directly. But she manages my calendar, and I have reminders set up for all the family obligations." "Reminders to pay their mortgage?" "Among other things." Her eyes narrowed. "Why are you so interested suddenly?" "Just curious how it all works. This sophisticated system you have." Mom jumped in, eager to defuse the tension. "Sarah takes care of everything. Has for years. We don't know what we'd do without her." "Right," Dad added, finally looking up. "She's the responsible one. The successful one. The one we can count on." Each word was a little dagger, but I'd been building up immunity for 3 weeks. "It's such a blessing," Mom continued, "to have a daughter who can support us. Not everyone is fortunate enough to have that kind of success. That kind of generosity." "You'll never be as good as your sister," Dad added, apparently deciding subtlety was overrated. "She carries this family." The words hung in the air like a challenge. I felt my carefully rehearsed speeches evaporate, replaced by 3 years of suppressed rage. I stood up slowly, my hands steady on the table. "Then tell her to pay the bills from now on, because I'm done." The silence was absolute. Even the clock seemed to stop ticking. "What?" Mom's voice was barely a whisper. "I said I'm done. Let your perfect daughter handle it all." Dad's face flushed red. "What bills?"
What are you talking about?
"We've never taken a penny from you." "Never taken a penny?" I laughed, but it came out harsh. "I've been paying your mortgage, your medical bills, your prescriptions, everything, for 3 years." "That's ridiculous," Sarah interjected. "I handle all that." "No, you don't." I opened my folder, my hands surprisingly steady. "You want to see ridiculous?" Let me show you ridiculous. I laid out the first statement. January, 3 years ago. Mom's heart episode. $8,743. Paid by Emma Thompson. I set down another. February, same year. Mortgage payment, $1,400. Paid by Emma Thompson. Another.
March.
Dad's medications, $340. Physical therapy for mom, $280. Mortgage again, $1,400. I kept going, laying paper after paper on the table like playing cards. April.
May. June.
Every month for 36 months. Every payment from my account. My money. My sacrifice. Mom picked up one of the statements with shaking hands. This can't be right. Call the bank, I said. Call the hospital. Call the pharmacy. Ask them who's been paying. This is obviously fake, Sarah said, but her voice had lost its confidence. Emma's trying to manipulate you. She's jealous. Fake. I pulled out my phone, logged into my bank app.
Here. Real time.
Look at the transfer history. Look at the payment references. Look at the remaining balance in my account after each transfer. Dad snatched the phone, his reading glasses perched precariously on his nose. His face went from red to white as he scrolled. These match our bills. The amounts, the dates. Of course they match, I said. Because I've been paying them. Every single one. While you sat here praising Sarah for her generosity. While you told me I was simple, unsuccessful, less than. While you wrote me out of your will because Sarah earned it. But Sarah said. Mom trailed off, looking at her older daughter. Sarah's composure finally cracked. She laughed, but it was brittle. Well, I didn't think you'd actually say anything. The admission hung in the air like a confession. You knew. Mom's voice was small, confused. You knew Emma was paying? She wanted to help, Sarah shrugged. I didn't see the harm in letting her. You were so happy thinking I was taking care of everything. Why ruin that? Why ruin that? I repeated, incredulous. Because it was a lie. Because I was killing myself to keep them afloat while you took all the credit. You chose to pay, Sarah shot back. No one forced you. You're right. No one forced me. I did it because I loved them, even when they made it clear they didn't love me back. Not the way they loved you. Emma? Mom started, but I held up my hand.
No. You don't get to Emma me now.
For 3 years, I've listened to you praise Sarah's generosity while living on ramen and wearing shoes with holes in them. I've skipped vacations, lost friends, given up dating because I couldn't afford to go anywhere. I've been your safety net while being told I was worthless. Dad hadn't moved, still staring at my phone screen. $42,000, he whispered. You paid $42,000? More, actually. That's just the medical bills. Add in the mortgage payments, the prescriptions, the emergency expenses, it's closer to $60,000. But you drive that old car, Mom said weakly. Your apartment is so small. Your clothes. Because every extra penny went to you. The words exploded out of me. Did you think I enjoyed looking poor? Did you think I liked being seen as the failure? I did it because you needed help, and I stupidly thought that maybe, eventually, you'd see me. Really see me. But you never did. Sarah stood up, grabbing her purse. This is ridiculous. I don't have to listen to this. Sit down. Dad's voice was sharp. We're not done. I am, Sarah said, but she hesitated. The mortgage is 3 weeks late, he said slowly. If you've been handling it, why is it late? I've been busy. It slipped my mind. It slipped your mind? Mom's voice rose. Our home slipped your mind? I'll pay it tomorrow, Sarah said dismissively. With what money? I asked. The $3,000 you spent at Nordstrom last week? The $500 dinner at Morton's? Or maybe the $1,200 spa weekend you posted about on Instagram? How do you? You sent me your credit card statement by mistake. Remember? Thought it was funny that I'd see how successful you are. The silence stretched again, but this time it was different. This time, my parents were looking at Sarah, really looking at her, and seeing something they'd never seen before. "Pay it now," Dad said quietly. "If you have the money, pay it now. We'll call the bank together." Sarah's face cycled through several expressions before settling on indignant. "I don't have to prove anything to you. You do if you want us to believe you've been supporting us," Mom said, and there was something new in her voice.
Doubt.
"Fine." Sarah pulled out her phone, made a show of opening her banking app. Then her face fell. I need to transfer some funds first. From my investment account." "Do it," Dad said. "It takes 3 to 5 business days." "Sarah." Mom's voice was sharp now. "Have you ever paid any of our bills?" The question hung in the air like an accusation. Sarah looked from one parent to the other, then at me. For a moment, I saw something in her eyes, not remorse, exactly, but maybe recognition. That the game was over. The performance had ended. "I kept meaning to," she said finally. "But Emma was handling it, and you were so happy thinking it was me." I figured. What was the harm? The harm? I laughed bitterly. "The harm was letting me destroy my life while you took a bow. You chose to help our parents." "Yes, I chose that. You chose to lie." Mom stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "Emma, we need to think about this. Process it." "Process away," I said, gathering my things. "But while you're processing, remember that your mortgage is late, Dad's medications need refilling next week, and Mom's next rheumatologist appointment is Thursday. Sarah can handle all that now. After all, she's the successful one, the generous one, the one you can count on." I headed for the door, my folder of statements still spread across their dinner table like evidence at a crime scene. "Emma, wait," Mom called after me. "You can't just leave." I turned back, meeting each of their eyes in turn. "I've been leaving for 3 years. You just never noticed because the checks kept clearing. From now on, let your perfect daughter take care of you. I'm done." Sarah found her voice. "You can't just abandon them." "Abandon them?" I laughed, but it was hollow. "Like you did? Except you did it while taking credit for my sacrifice. At least I'm being honest about walking away." "Please," Mom's voice cracked. "Let's talk about this. We've been talking. You just haven't been listening. But don't worry, I'm sure Sarah will step up now. After all, she's inheriting everything. It's only fair she starts paying for it." I walked out, closing the door firmly behind me. My phone started ringing before I reached my car, Mom's ringtone, but I didn't answer. For the first time in 3 years, I didn't answer. As I drove away, I caught a glimpse of them in the window, Mom crying, Dad still at the table surrounded by my bank statements, and Sarah pacing with her phone pressed to her ear, probably calling her investment advisor or her assistant or anyone who might bail her out. The golden child's crown was slipping, and for once, I wasn't there to catch it when it fell. The silence was the hardest part. I'd expected the explosion to be immediate. Phone calls, texts, emails, maybe even Sarah showing up at my apartment. Instead, I got 3 days of absolute nothing. 3 days where I jumped every time my phone buzzed, only to find work emails or spam calls. 3 days where I second-guessed everything, wondering if I'd destroyed my family for nothing. On the 4th day, the dam broke. I was driving home from work when Mom's voicemail came through the car speakers. "Emma, it's your mother. I need to talk to you.
Please, just call me back.
We're trying to understand, and there are things, just please call." Her voice was smaller than I'd ever heard it, like she'd aged a decade in 4 days. I deleted the message at the next red light. 2 hours later, another one. "Your father's not well. The stress, please, Emma. Whatever we did, whatever we said, we're still your parents."
Delete.
By evening, the messages had shifted from Mom's tearful pleas to Dad's gruff demands. "This is ridiculous, Emma. You've made your point. Now stop being childish and come fix this mess you created." The mess I created. Of course. Sarah showed up on day 5, Saturday morning, pounding on my apartment door at 7 a.m. "I know you're in there," she called through the wood. "Your car's outside." I opened the door, but didn't invite her in. She looked different. Designer clothes wrinkled, makeup smudged, her usually perfect hair pulled into a messy bun. "You had to ruin everything," she said without preamble. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "Told the truth. Destroyed our family." Her voice cracked. "They're not speaking to me. Dad won't even look at me. Mom cries constantly. Are you happy now?" "Am I happy that they finally know who's been keeping them afloat?" "Yes, actually." Sarah's face contorted. "They want me to pay them back. All of it. Every penny they think I took credit for." "You did take credit for it. I never asked you to pay their bills." "No, you just let them believe you were doing it." "For 3 years, Sarah. 3 years of listening to them worship you, while I hemorrhaged money." "And whose fault is that?" She stepped closer, her expensive perfume overwhelming in the small hallway. "You could have said something anytime. You chose to be a martyr." "I tried to tell them. Multiple times. They didn't believe me because you kept reinforcing the lie."
Invalid.
"You never corrected them either. That's the same thing." Sarah's phone rang. She glanced at it and declined the call. "That's Mom. She's called 15 times this morning. Dad's had chest pains. They had to go to the ER last night." My stomach clenched, but I kept my face neutral. And the bill is going to be astronomical. They want to know who's paying for it. Sounds like your problem. After all, you're inheriting everything. About that, Sarah's voice dropped. "They're talking about changing the will." "Good for them. Emma, please." And for the first time in my life, I heard my sister beg. "I can't afford it. The mortgage, the medical bills, all of it. I don't have that kind of money." "But your job." "I make good money, yes. But I spend it. The apartment, the car lease, the clothes, it's all part of maintaining an image. I have maybe 3,000 in savings." 3,000. I laughed, but it was hollow. "I've been sending them 2,000 a month on a salary half of yours." "I know." She was almost screaming now. "I know, okay? You're the good daughter. You're the one who sacrificed. You win." "Is that what you want to hear?" "I want you to tell them the truth. All of it." "I did. They don't care. They want their bills paid, and they want them paid now." "Then pay them." "I can't." She was crying now, mascara running in black streams. "I'll lose everything. My apartment, my car. Your image." "Yes." She didn't even try to deny it. "My image is all I have. It's my career, my future, everything. And my sacrifice was what, exactly? Nothing." Sarah wiped her face with the back of her hand, smearing the mascara worse. "Can't we work something out? You keep paying, I'll tell them it's from both of us." "Absolutely not. Emma, please. They're our parents." Funny how they became our parents when you need something. Her phone rang again. This time she answered, turning slightly away. Mom." "No, I'm at Emma's." "She won't." "I know. I understand. The mortgage company called again? Monday? I'll figure something out." She hung up and turned back to me. "They're going to lose the house." "No, they won't. They'll figure it out. Maybe sell some things. Downsize. Get a payment plan. You know, all the things regular people do when they can't afford their lifestyle." "This is cruel, Emma." "Cruel." The word ignited something in me. Cruel was letting me live in poverty while you lived in luxury off my reputation. Cruel was watching them praise you for my sacrifices. Cruel was inheriting everything while I got nothing but dismissal and condescension.
Fine.
You want me to suffer?
I'm suffering.
You want me to be exposed?
I'm exposed.
What more do you want? I want 3 years of my life back. But since that's impossible, I'll settle for never having to pretend again." Sarah left after hurling a few more accusations, each one bouncing off my newfound armor of indifference. I spent the rest of the weekend doing things I hadn't done in years, getting a massage, buying books, eating at a restaurant that didn't have a drive-thru. The guilt was there, lurking at the edges, but it was manageable, like a bruise healing. Monday brought the extended family into the drama. My phone lit up with messages from aunts, uncles, cousins, all with variations of the same theme. How could you abandon your parents? Apparently, Sarah and my parents had spun a story where I'd been helping a little and was now throwing a tantrum over not being appreciated enough. The $60,000 became a few thousand. The 3 years became recently. The truth became negotiable. My cousin Marcus was the only one who reached out with something different. Hey, heard there's drama. Mom's version sounds like BS. You okay? I called him back. Not really, I admitted. But maybe that's good. I've been not okay for so long that feeling it honestly is almost a relief. Want to tell me what really happened? So I did. All of it. The payments, the statements, the confrontation. He listened without interrupting. Holy shit, he said when I finished. I knew Sarah was the favorite, but this is next level. You have proof of all this. Every receipt, every transfer, every payment. And they're still taking her side? They're taking the side of their narrative. I don't fit into it.
Eminencia.
He paused. Grandma would be rolling in her grave. She always said you were the responsible one. Remember? She used to call you her little banker because you saved every penny of birthday money. I'd forgotten that. Grandma had seen me at least. Look, Marcus continued, I believe you. And when the rest of the family hears the truth, the real truth, they will too. I don't care if they do. You should. Not for them, for you. You deserve to have your story told accurately. Tuesday afternoon, Dad had a stroke. I was in a meeting when the call came through. Mom, hysterical, barely coherent. Hospital, your father's stroke, please. I went. Of course I went. Despite everything, I went. The hospital smelled the same as it had 3 years ago during Mom's heart episode. Disinfectant and despair. I found them in the cardiac unit. Mom hunched in a plastic chair, Sarah pacing by the window, already on her phone. He's stable, Mom said when she saw me. But the doctor said it was stress-induced. The past week. She trailed off, the accusation clear. This was my fault. I'd caused this with my truth-telling. The deposit, Sarah said, ending her call. They need $15,000 for the deposit before they'll admit him for the extended care he needs. Insurance, I started. Doesn't cover all of it. And it needs to be paid now. They both looked at me, waiting, expecting. I don't have $15,000, I said quietly. I spent everything on you already. I can maybe do 5, Sarah said, her voice strained. If I max out my credit cards. That leaves 10, Mom said, still looking at me. I told you. I don't have it. You could get a loan, Sarah suggested. Your credit must be decent. My credit is shot from 3 years of financial strain. Thanks for that, by the way. Emma, Mom's voice was desperate. Your father could die. He's stable. You just said so. He needs extended care, not emergency surgery. Work out a payment plan with the hospital. They won't. They will. They always do. You just have to ask. Fill out the financial hardship paperwork. Be honest about your situation. Our situation, Mom spat, is that our daughter abandoned us when we needed her most. No, I said firmly. Your situation is that you put all your eggs in one basket, a basket that was actually empty. And now you're facing the consequences. Sarah's phone rang. She answered it, her face paling. What do you mean, declined? All of them? But I just paid the minimum last month. She hung up, sinking into a chair. My cards are maxed out. I can't even do 5,000. The irony was thick enough to choke on. The golden child couldn't produce even a fraction of what I'd been paying monthly. I'll talk to the financial counselor, I said finally. See what options they have. But I'm not paying for it. I spent 2 hours with the hospital's financial team, filling out forms, explaining the situation, negotiating. In the end, they agreed to a payment plan, $500 a month for 3 years. Manageable, even for Sarah. $500 a month, I told them when I returned. Sarah, that's less than your car payment. My car payment is $800, she muttered. Mom gasped. $800? A month? Emma's entire rent is only $1,200. It's a necessary expense, Sarah said defensively. For my image. Your image. Dad's voice was weak but clear. He was awake, watching us from the bed. Your image is what got us here.
Dad. No.
He struggled to sit up. I've been lying here thinking about what Emma said, about the money, about everything. You need to rest, Mom tried. I need to apologize. He looked at me, and for the first time in my life, I saw my father cry. Emma, we failed you. We failed you so completely. Dad. Let me finish. Please. He took a shaky breath. Your mother's been showing me the bills. The real ones. The ones you paid. $60,000. You gave us $60,000 while we told you you weren't good enough. It doesn't matter now, I said, but my voice was thick. It's all that matters. Sarah? He turned to her. The will. We're changing it. Everything splits equally. Dad, no. Sarah stood up. You can't. I can and I will. In fact, he looked at me. It should all go to Emma. To pay her back. I don't want your money, I said. I never did. I just wanted you to see me. We see you now, Mom whispered. Too late, but we see you. It's something, I admitted. But seeing me now doesn't erase 3 years of invisibility. A nurse came in to check Dad's vitals, giving us all a moment to breathe. Sarah used the interruption to leave, mumbling something about needing to make calls. We all knew she wasn't coming back. Sarah appeared at my apartment again 3 days later, but this time she looked different.
Defeated.
The designer clothes were gone, replaced with jeans and a college sweatshirt I hadn't seen in years. Can I come in? She asked quietly. I stepped aside. She entered my small apartment, the one she'd mocked so many times, and sat on my second-hand couch. I need to tell you something, she said. About the will. About Mom and Dad. About everything. I'm listening. Remember when Grandma died? 5 years ago. Of course. She left me money.
$52,000.
I felt my jaw drop. What? She left you the same amount. But Mom and Dad, they convinced me to lie. To say Grandma only left money to me. They said you were too irresponsible, that you'd waste it. They stole $50,000 from me? We all did. The money went into their account, supposedly for safekeeping. They promised to give it to you when you were ready. But then Dad's business failed, and they needed money. They used my inheritance. They used both of ours. All of it. Every penny. And when it ran out, she looked at me with something like pity. That's when you started paying their bills. The room spun. I gripped the arm of my chair. You're telling me they stole my inheritance and then let me bankrupt myself supporting them? They justified it. Said you were paying them back for raising you. That it was your duty as the unmarried daughter without kids. And you just let them? I was promised everything in their will as compensation. The house is worth at least $300,000. Their savings, what's left of it, plus life insurance. I figured I'd make it right eventually. Give you your share when they died. You figured? I laughed, but it was hollow. You watched me destroy my life and figured you'd make it right eventually? I know how it sounds. It sounds like conspiracy, like theft, like fraud. Emma, please. I'm trying to make this right.
Why now?
Why tell me now? Sarah pulled out her phone, showing me an email. Because of this. It was from a lawyer. A cease and desist letter from the mortgage company, threatening foreclosure proceedings. But more importantly, this. She scrolled to another email. From our parents' lawyer. The subject line, Inheritance clarification. I read it, my blood going cold. The house, the $300,000 house, had been reverse mortgaged 2 years ago. There was no equity left. The savings were gone. The life insurance had been cashed out early to pay for Dad's heart procedure, the one I thought I'd paid for. They took my money for the procedure and kept the insurance payout? They took everything from everyone. And Emma? Sarah's voice dropped. There's more. They've been getting money from Marcus too. And Aunt Linda. And Uncle Robert. Small amounts from everyone. All while telling each person they were the only one helping. What? I found out yesterday. Started making calls after Dad's stroke. Everyone thinks they're the sole supporter. Everyone's been told the same story about me being successful and taking care of them. But the bills I paid were real. But so were the ones Marcus paid. And Linda. And Robert. They've been double and triple dipping, claiming poverty to everyone while actually bringing in probably $6,000 a month. $6,000? Where did it all go? Sarah pulled up another document on her phone. Gambling. Dad's been going to the casino. Mom's been playing online poker. They've lost hundreds of thousands over the past 5 years. Grandma's money, the reverse mortgage proceeds, everyone's support payments, all of it went to gambling. I sank into my chair. Everything I thought I knew was wrong. Every sacrifice, every moment of resentment, every family dinner where I'd bitten my tongue, it was all built on lies within lies. Does Marcus know? The others. I'm telling them tomorrow. Family meeting. Without Mom and Dad. They'll deny it. I have proof. Bank statements, casino records, online gambling site histories. Dad's computer saved all the passwords. I got in yesterday while they were at the hospital. That's illegal. So, is defrauding your entire family. We sat in silence for a moment, processing the magnitude of the betrayal. There's one more thing, Sarah said quietly. The will they keep threatening everyone with? It doesn't matter. There's nothing to inherit. Nothing but debt. The house will be foreclosed on within 6 months. The credit cards are maxed. They owe back taxes. Even if they left everything to one person, that person would inherit nothing but obligations. So all of this, the favoritism, the golden child narrative, the threats of disinheritance, was manipulation to keep the money flowing.
Shot him at my eyes.
Emma, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
I bought into it because it made me feel special, but I was just another mark in their con. You were more than that. You were their accomplice. I know. And I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right.
How?
My money's gone. My credit's ruined. 3 years of my life wasted. I don't know, but I'll figure it out. I have to.
My phone rang. Mom.
Don't answer, Sarah said. Not yet. Not until you've processed all this. But I did answer. Because despite everything, some habits die hard. Emma, thank God. Your father's being discharged tomorrow, and we need someone to pick him up. Sarah's not answering and, Mom, I know about the gambling. Silence. I don't know what you're talking about. The casino. The online poker. Grandma's money. The reverse mortgage. All of it. The silence stretched longer this time. Who told you? Does it matter? Is it true? It's not what you think. We had some bad luck. A few investments went poorly. Investments? Is that what you're calling it? Emma, we're your parents. We've given you everything. You stole $50,000 from me. That money was for your own good. You would have wasted it. Like you did? At the casino? How dare you? I hung up. Then I blocked her number. Then Dad's. For the first time in my life, I cut them off completely. Sarah was still on my couch, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. What are you going to do? She asked. I don't know.
Move, maybe.
Start over somewhere where the weight of being their daughter doesn't crush me every day. And them? They made their choices. Every day for 5 years, they chose gambling over their children. They chose lies over truth. They chose manipulation over love. Now they get to live with those choices. The family meeting is tomorrow at 2. Marcus's house. Will you come?
Yes.
Everyone deserves to know the truth. Sarah stood to leave, then paused at the door. Emma, that money I said I could put toward Dad's hospital deposit?
I don't even have that.
I'm broke. Completely broke. The clothes, the car, the apartment, it's all about to disappear. I'm moving back in with a college friend next week. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm done lying. To you, to them, to myself. I bought into their game and lost everything, just like you. The only difference is I deserved it. After she left, I sat in my apartment, looking around at my secondhand furniture, my small space, my simple life. For 3 years, I'd been ashamed of it. Now, for the first time, I felt proud. It was mine, earned honestly, paid for without lies or manipulation. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Sarah told me everything.
Jesus Christ, Eminência.
Family meeting tomorrow. We're going to figure this out. All of us. Without them. Then another from Aunt Linda. Just heard. I'm in shock. Been sending them $500 a month for 2 years. Uncle Robert. Those bastards. Claimed they needed help with groceries. I've been buying them groceries for 18 months. The family text chain exploded with revelation after revelation. Everyone had been paying something. Everyone had been told they were the only one. Everyone had been manipulated. By morning, the tally was staggering. Between 7 family members, our parents had been collecting nearly $8,000 a month for the past 2 years. Before that, it was Grandma's money and the reverse mortgage. Nearly $500,000 had flowed through their hands in 5 years.
All of it gone.
Gambled away while they played us against each other, maintaining their elaborate fiction of favoritism and need. The family meeting was held in Marcus's backyard. 7 of us gathered around his patio table, each carrying our own folder of evidence. The mood was somber, like a funeral for trust itself. Sarah had prepared a presentation, probably the first useful thing her business skills had ever contributed to the family. Spreadsheets showing the flow of money. Bank statements. Casino players' club records showing Dad's losses. Screenshots of Mom's online poker accounts. Total confirmed gambling losses over 5 years. $487,000, she read. Total extracted from family members. Approximately $450,000. The rest came from the reverse mortgage and cashed-out insurance policies. How did we not see this? Aunt Linda asked, her voice shaking. Because they were experts at manipulation, Marcus said. They compartmentalized. Each of us only saw our piece. Emma was the scapegoat who gave the most. Sarah was the golden child who provided cover. The rest of us were supporting players, each thinking we were the only one helping. What do we do now? Uncle Robert asked. We stop enabling them, I said. All of us. Completely. But their family, Linda started. They're con artists who happen to share our DNA, I interrupted. Would you keep giving money to any other con artist who stole from you? Emma's right, Sarah said. They've been given hundreds of thousands of dollars and have nothing to show for it but debt. Even if we wanted to help, there's no point. It would just go to the casino. But what about their health? The house? They're adults, Marcus said firmly. They can figure it out. Sell the house before it's foreclosed. Downsize. Get jobs. Go to Gamblers Anonymous. Take responsibility for once in their lives. The vote was unanimous. Complete financial cutoff from everyone. 3 days later, we received a summons to a lawyer's office. Not for a will reading, for a family financial discussion our parents had arranged. We all went curious despite ourselves. The lawyer, Harold, the same one who'd drawn up their will, looked uncomfortable as we filed in. Our parents sat on one side of his conference table, looking older and smaller than I'd ever seen them. Thank you all for coming, Harold began. Your parents have asked me to mediate a discussion about family financial obligations. Obligations. Marcus laughed. Are you serious? They've provided for all of you for years, Harold started. Stop, I said, standing up. Mr. Harold, are you aware that my parents have defrauded their entire family of nearly $500,000? That's a serious accusation. Sarah opened her laptop, pulling up the presentation. It's not an accusation. It's documented fact. We spent the next hour showing Harold everything. His face went from skeptical to shocked to professionally neutral. I see, he said finally. This is not what I was led to believe. We need help, Mom said, speaking for the first time. Her voice was small, desperate. We're going to lose everything. You already lost everything, I said. You gambled it away. But the will, Dad started. What will? Sarah interrupted. The will leaving me a house that's in foreclosure? Savings that don't exist? Debts I'd have to assume? That will. Harold cleared his throat.
Actually, about that.
There's been a development. The reverse mortgage company has initiated foreclosure proceedings. The estate, such as it is, will be insolvent within 6 months. So there's nothing? Mom asked. Less than nothing. There are substantial debts. But if the children were to help, Dad tried.
No.
All 7 of us said it in unison. Harold shuffled his papers. There is one option. If someone were to assume the mortgage, pay off the reverse mortgage, and settle the debts, they could potentially save the house. How much? Sarah asked. Approximately $200,000. The room went silent. I have a different proposal, I said, surprising myself. I'll help, but on my terms. Everyone stared at me. Emma, no, Marcus said. After everything. Hear me out. I turned to my parents. I'll pay for a small apartment. $1,000 a month, which is what I can afford now that I'm not hemorrhaging money to you. Basic utilities included. No gambling money.
No extras.
You'll sign a contract agreeing to attend Gamblers Anonymous and provide proof of attendance. You'll also sign over any remaining assets to be divided equally among all 7 of us who you defrauded. That's preposterous, Dad started. That's generous, Harold interrupted, considering potential fraud charges. Fraud charges? Mom gasped. Obtaining money under false pretenses. Multiple counts. From multiple victims. Harold's voice was stern. Your daughter is offering you a lifeline. I'd consider it carefully. And if we refuse? Dad asked. Then you're on your own, I said. All of us walk away. You lose the house, declare bankruptcy, and figure out your own housing situation. Your choice. Why? Mom asked me. Why would you help us after everything? Because despite everything, you're my parents. And because I refuse to let your bad choices define my character. But this is a one-time offer. Take it or leave it. They huddled together, whispering. Finally, Dad looked up. We'll take it. Harold drew up the contracts that day. Strict terms.
Muntlige attendance verification.
No gambling of any kind. Regular financial audits. Any violation would result in immediate termination of support. As we signed the papers, I felt something shift. Not forgiveness, that would take time, if it ever came, but a kind of closure. There's one more thing, Harold said as we prepared to leave. Your grandmother's will. There was a codicil I wasn't aware of until recently. He handed me and Sarah each an envelope. She left letters. To be delivered 5 years after her death. Which is now. I opened mine with shaking hands. My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, then I was right about your parents. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I've watched them favor Sarah while you quietly held everything together. I've seen your strength, your integrity, your heart. I left you money in my will. If you didn't receive it, then they took it. I suspected they might, which is why I also set up a trust they didn't know about. A backup plan, you might say. Contact the lawyer whose name is at the bottom of this letter. Not Harold. He's too close to your parents. This lawyer has something for you. Remember, your worth isn't determined by their blindness to it.
All my love, Grandma.
Sarah's letter was similar but shorter, warning her about becoming too caught up in our parents' games. The lawyer Grandma mentioned was across town. We went together, Sarah and I, united for once by curiosity and grief. The Thompson sisters, the lawyer, Miss Chun, said. I've been waiting for you. She pulled out a file. Your grandmother set up educational trusts for both of you. $50,000 each. Your parents couldn't touch them because they were specifically designated for education and self-improvement. Very broad terms, legally speaking. We have money? Sarah asked, stunned. You have options, Ms. Chin corrected. The trust can be used for traditional education, vocational training, therapy, starting a business, anything that could be argued as self-improvement. Therapy definitely counts, I muttered. Your grandmother was a wise woman, Ms. Chin continued. She knew your parents' nature. She protected what she could. We left the office in silence, each processing this final gift from the one family member who'd truly seen us. "What will you do with yours?" Sarah asked. "Therapy first, then maybe art school. I always wanted to study painting seriously." "You are good," Sarah corrected herself. "That landscape you painted in high school, I was jealous. That's why I made fun of it." "I know. What do you mean, you know?" "I always knew you were jealous. Just like you knew Mom and Dad's love was conditional. We both knew the truth and pretended otherwise. So what now? Do we pretend to be sisters?"
No.
We be honest. We're strangers who share DNA and trauma. Maybe someday we'll be sisters. Maybe not. But at least we'll be real. Sarah nodded. "I can live with that." The epilogue came 3 months later. Our parents, installed in their small apartment, attending GA meetings, slowly facing the wreckage of their choices. The family, fractured but healing, each member setting boundaries and rebuilding trust where possible. I started art school with Grandma's money. Sarah used hers for business school, starting over, building something real this time. Marcus became our unofficial family coordinator, organizing holidays that our parents weren't invited to until they'd been clean for a year. The last time I saw my parents was at a coffee shop 6 months after everything imploded. They looked older but clearer, like fog had lifted from their eyes. "We're sorry," Mom said simply. Not expecting forgiveness. Just sorry. "We destroyed everything for nothing," Dad added. The gambling, it was never about the money. It was about feeling important, feeling like winners. Instead, we lost everything that mattered. "You did," I agreed. "But you're still here. Still breathing. That's more than some gambling addicts get." "The GA meetings help," Mom admitted. Hearing other stories. Realizing we're not unique, just addicts who happen to have families willing to enable us. "Until they weren't," Dad said, looking at me. "You stopping the payments, it saved us. We would have gambled until we died. You almost did anyway. But we didn't. Because you finally said no. Because you all did." I left that meeting feeling lighter than I had in years. Not reconciled. That might never come, but released. The burden of being their daughter, their savior, their scapegoat, had lifted. Standing in my art studio that night, painting for the first time in years, I thought about Grandma's words. Your worth isn't determined by their blindness to it. She was right. She'd always been right. I painted until dawn, lost in color and possibility, finally free from the weight of comparison. The painting was of a small bird leaving a golden cage, flying toward an uncertain but infinite sky. I titled it Inheritance. Because in the end, what I inherited wasn't money or property or even love. It was the knowledge that I could survive without any of those things. That my worth came from within, not from their validation or their will or their conditional affection. That was worth more than any amount of money. That was everything. Have you ever sacrificed your own happiness to earn love that should have been freely given, and was it worth it? If Emma's story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more powerful stories about family secrets, hidden sacrifices, and the moment when the truth finally comes to light.